Welcome everyone to Times of Refreshing. My name is Toyin Akonle, and I'm really glad we can be together on this wonderful broadcast. I do want to apologize that we're starting a little bit later than when we were supposed to start. You can't always be right with technology. The itches are always there, but I'm glad that you're able to join us. And today on Times of Refreshing, like our flyer said, we're going to be talking about gender bias through the years. Honestly, when this topic came to mind, I thought about the best people to invite to shed light with me on this particular topic. And I had to narrow down to some very, very wonderful people that I know that are in my life. The first person I want to introduce today is my own dear, very Grace. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
All I can say about Grace is that she's a very versatile woman. She's a young woman, but she's very versatile. She wears a lot of hats, and she's an influencer also in different paths. And when it comes to young people like her, she's actually making impact. I'm going to give her time to introduce herself later, but let me also welcome to this program my own and our very own Dr. Victoria Ashiru. She's been on Times of Refreshing before. She's a guru at what she does, and very soon you will know more about her. So I want to say welcome to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
It's really awesome, really, really awesome to have you guys here. And I know this is going to be really, really wonderful. When we were coming together, I was telling Grace, I said, today we're just going to have fun, enjoy ourselves, give informations out there, and be sure that we at least impact one or two people for good. So I want to encourage you not to watch this program alone. Either you're watching from Facebook or YouTube, you're welcome. Please take the time to invite your friends. The time to invite your friends. And the link is just Times of Refreshing with Pastor Toyin Akonle. And we are also going to use that time to just send a link out. We wanted to wait till this time to send this link so that we send you the correct link. So we're going to send a link out to our friends and our acquaintances so that they can be a part of this program.
Thank you.
Do you want to do that too?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just quickly send out the link to people on our contacts. It's you'll see it online, posted online. I believe our technical people will help us. So just put it out there. It's Times of Refreshing with Pastor Toyin Akonle. It's just that straightforward. Times of Refreshing with Pastor Toyin Akonle. And I know that anyone watching right now will be able to also copy the link and, send it out for us so that our friends can join us. On Facebook, you can share it with your friends. On YouTube, you can share it and invite people to also do that. And it will be so, so awesome. I need to also do the same, right?
Yes.
Don't let me just say it. Don't let me just say it. Let me also do it. Let me also do it just like everybody's doing it. So let me also do it and send out the link so that everybody can join us on this particular broadcast. Bear with me. Like I said, technology is our friend.
It sure is.
Technology is our friend, but at times, technology can actually show us that, look, you don't have it everything all. So I'm going to send this link to as many people as I can. And I hope that as you're watching us, you would be able to get the link and also be able to join us with the link. Okay. All right. So I'm doing what I can do. And I hope you're doing what you can do too. So at this time, I want to just give a little background on what we're going to be talking about today. Just before I now call on our panelists, our wonderful ladies here, to please just go ahead and introduce themselves. Like I said, today we're talking about gender bias through the years. And honestly, there has been a bias. And Let me just be specific, because I think when we say gender bias through the years, a lot of people would have different, could get different information from that. A lot of people could get different meaning. But we're actually talking about gender bias against women. That's what we're talking about today, to be specific. And we can see bias in every area of our lives. At the workplace, in the society, at home, and every other place, there's always a bias. And I know that a lot of people might look at this and said, oh, what are they talking about? But the Bible said something about that. Yes, the Bible did say something about that. But people are taking that also out of context. And so we're going to be looking at all those aspects today so that we can get more informed, and so that we also, either you're a man or a woman, either you're a top executive at your work or a business owner, whoever you may be, you begin to see the bias and you begin to help to break this bias. So many times, some things have been, said to be for men and some things for women. It cuts across almost all aspects of our lives. I remember an advert that I watched. A woman was trying to get a car. It's so interesting. She was trying to get a car, and she was talking to the to the associate at the car lot, and people were just looking at her. Doing their own thing, not really giving her much attention. But then she brought her up just like a puppet and used the voice of a male, and everybody jumped up. I don't know if you guys have seen that advert.
Yes, I did.
And everybody jumped up to attention to help her with what she wants. But these are little areas where we see this bias. In places of work, it is believed that women can't do the same work that men do. I totally believe that that's not right. Even, in profession, in academics, there are some studies that people believe that are only for male. In those days, a lot of girls were told that they can be medical doctors, they can be scientists. But they are doing great things. Women are doing great things because we have capacity. We have the ability to do it, and we're doing it. And so those are the things we are going to be looking at today. We're also going to be looking at how these wonderful women have been able to break this bias and the kind of bias that they faced in their time and how they've been able to break it. So I want to encourage you once again to invite your friends, your family, share this video, go to our YouTube channel, Times of Refreshing with Pastor Toyin Akanle, and also go to our Facebook page and invite your friends. Make sure they know about it. Maybe there's somebody that has had an argument with you over this. Make sure they know about it. And I'm sure this is going to be an awesome time together. So let's get into it. I'm going to let our latest panelists, the newest panelists on Times of Refreshing, introduce ourselves first. And that's going to be Miss Grace. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for creating this space for women and for people within the church to see how, the gospel and also our everyday life can be impacted by, society happenings and like trending topics, as we would say. So my name is Grace Chimezie, and I'm currently a research and evaluation officer for a research nonprofit in DC. As Pastor Toyin pointed out earlier on, I wear different hats. I'm also the designer for a footwear brand called Gaffa Sandals, and I have my website and my blog called GA Fashion, where I talk about style and everyday happenings. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. Honestly, you would agree with me that she's one of the best person to be on this panel today. You see all the hats she wears, and she's a woman. She's an entrepreneur. She's an inventor. She's a designer. She's a blogger. She has a very big blog. I know about that. And I had the opportunity of attending one of our sessions on Twitter Space while she was talking about, career transitioning for young people. It was awesome. I'm not as young as she is, but I just wanted to listen in to see what she was doing and what they were saying. I ended up staying even for after question and answer. I tell you. And immediately it was over. I went downstairs. I called my boys. I said, you know what? You guys need to join Grace's Twitter thing because she's doing awesome things.
Thank you.
So we want to say welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Victoria Ashiru, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Pastor Tony. It's always a blessing. I look forward to being here all the time. And for Grace, yes, I know you as well. I know all you can do, and I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of you as well. And
Thank you so much.
Pastor T, you know, you were saying about she may be so young, but you're learning something. We learn from everywhere, you know. So the young can teach us a lot of tricks these days, especially when it comes to technology and how to use all these things, Pastor T. So once again, it's it's good to be here, Pastor T. Thank you so much for always inviting me. I look forward to it. I haven't done nothing else today but prepare for it, but just get excited about being here. So for those who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Dr. Victoria Ashiru, and faculty member for School of Business. I have been teaching graduate program and doctoral program for a couple of years now, and it's something that I so much enjoy doing, and I love it. And once again, it's good to have this opportunity to come here to talk about us women and how much we have impacted the society. So I'm so glad that you all are able to tune in with us today. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashiru. It's always a delight, I tell you, to have wonderful Dr. Ashiru in the house because our depth of knowledge is, it's unquestionable. We really, really always enjoy having you, and we always have a good time. So welcome once again. And like I said, as we go on, please go ahead, share this broadcast, invite people, start a watch party, go tell people to watch it on YouTube, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm just going to ask Dr. Ashiru, what is your understanding about gender bias? Everybody is talking about gender bias. Just last month, we celebrated International Women's Day, and hey, we celebrate women every day. We also celebrate men. We celebrate everyone every day. I don't want to be partial, but women need to be celebrated every day because of the different hats we wear. But I want to say that last month, which just ended 2 days ago, there was a lot of talk about breaking the barriers, stuff like that. So what would you say your understanding of gender bias is?
Thank you so much, Pastor T. And I just want to start with the Women's International Day or month last that we just did in March, because, it's just a way to welcome and recognize what women have been doing over the years, way back in history. You don't even want to start from there. Queen Elizabeth, Joan of Arc, even our own very own Queen Amina of Zaria. Women have always been in leadership from the way it goes. So it was really beautiful for the entire world to celebrate women in the month of March. So that was good. When it comes to gender bias, like you said, gender could be male or female, but we are concentrating today on bias against women.
Yes.
It's just a way to favor men over women in every sense of the word. When it comes to in leadership, when it comes even work, even in the home, everywhere. So it's favoring men over women, and that's what gender bias is. And I don't know, have you been in a meeting where heavily dominated by men, and you say something, it's like, yeah. They just look at you, smile, and as if to say, did you say, oh yeah, they smile, everybody smiles, and then they just keep talking like, whatever. And at some point, you're still in this meeting, you're supposed to be in this meeting because of your status, your level in that organization, so that's why you're in that meeting, you're in leadership. And then before the meeting ends, one of the male colleagues will repeat what you said, that idea that you've given, but maybe tweak it a little bit here and there, and it becomes his idea. And everybody's like, yeah, that's what we should do. And then you're there thinking, hello, but I brought it up first. And it's like you have no voice. And that goes on over and over again. So it's not only in employment, but in you having a voice. You are not even allowed to speak up. Sometimes when you try to put up a point as if you're being aggressive about it, it's okay for a guy to be aggressive and really be mature about the point they're making. If you do the same, you're being too aggressive. You know, so I just want to leave it at that as we talk about gender bias. We see it all the time, and it's in different walks of life, and basically just favoring the male, colleagues or counterparts over the female.
Thank you so much. You know, I was reading something, and it says that when a woman is soft and gentle in a place of work, they'll say, oh, she's laid back. When the man is also soft and gentle, they'll say he's focused.
That's so true.
When I read that, I'm like, okay, I've actually seen these things, but I didn't put, I didn't put it right on target like that. So you're quite right, Dr. Ashiru. And I know there are a lot of people watching are saying, oh, this is Pastor Tony. Yes, this is Pastor Tony. And I'm sure you will want me to bear in on the biblical aspect of it. We're going to get to that. But today, we're actually trying to just talk about those things that are really, really happening out there and ways we can tackle it. And I know that Dr. Ashiru had said her own, but being of a younger age, I don't know if Grace has another way that she's seen gender bias, how you want to define gender bias, age-related, time-related,
Yes. Thank you for your contribution. And both of you pointed out to something that people don't necessarily look at, and it's language. When you name something, you're able to give it power. And once you're able to say, this is the thing I recognize, like you're saying, people referring to women as laid back and men as focused, that language is able to point clearly where we see the bias happening.
Yes.
And so for gender bias, the older generation probably had it really harder for us. And people would say our mothers didn't lay the groundwork, but they did. It was subtle because they couldn't vocally, express themselves the way the younger generation is doing because of the internet. But they did those groundwork for us. And for our own generation, gender bias is in the language. It's not necessarily in the culture that we are currently breaking. It's now in the language. It's in the way men ignore the things women say or adopt it when men say it. And so it's like, it's the same, but it's transcended. There's cultural, and in different countries, in different societies, gender bias is different. My bias in Nigeria is not the same as what I'm facing here. And so as a young person from the southeast of Nigeria, my bias is not the same as someone from the northeast of Nigeria. And we say gender bias and focus on women because historically, society, religion, and every other facet has made it or put in place things that have made it harder for women to break barriers in the society. And so that's why we consider it gender bias.
Thank you. I wanted you to finish because I wanted to take you up a little bit on what you said. So can you pinpoint what the bias you face back in Africa is different from the bias you face in this Western world?
Yes, so I'm going to give an example with my footwear business. I started a footwear business in Nigeria 7 years ago, and I was the first woman in Abuja to actually do that. And whenever people were going to place an order, they would call Sir, and they would always say Sir, even when we corrected them that, oh, sorry, this is a female-owned brand. And so what I started to do was every year that it was a anniversary to celebrate our footwear brand, I would take a very nice picture and post, and someone from my team will say, we want to thank our CEO, and everybody is going to be like, oh my God, a woman has this brand? And so these days we've seen people say Ma, or whenever they say, they'll be like, oh, there's one girl who has a footwear brand. And it's like making sure that when the opportunity arises, that people understand that it's a woman who owns it, who designs it, who makes it. And so that's the way I've been able to break that bias.
That is so funny.
That is so it's a bit different in this part of the world, right?
Yeah. So in the United States, it's different because here it's more about the passiveness. you don't see it physically. Nobody is going to try to misconstrue who you are as a woman.
Because they can be sued.
Yeah, they would let you be, but as people said in the language, it's ignoring you in, let's say, a group meeting, and you're the woman who is knowledgeable about that. And once you say it, everybody's just going to be like, and then a guy says it, and they're like, yeah, let's revisit what you just said. And you know that it's just a very passive way of them being very silly. I used to say silly because it's like, I know you people wouldn't do this, but one way I've found to overcome that is in my writing. No one is going to dispute what I wrote, and you're going to refer to it, and it's my name there. And whenever I'm called upon, is a woman that would appear. So,
Wow, that's quite insightful. That's one of the things that people can do, even though we're still going to talk about it, that you just put out there. One of the things that I get from what you say, what people can always do, always document.
yes.
Yes. Women are making waves. We have the capacity to do a lot of things, but at times, if you do not document, nobody comes back to it. And you can imagine how a woman will feel if you give the same suggestion or you bring the same idea to the table in a meeting and it's not acknowledged, but another person who is a male counterpart now brings it, and then everybody jumps on it. It doesn't feel good. It makes you feel like you've just been beaten down. That's the way it's going to feel. But honestly, there are things you can do about it. And so we're going to be hearing about those things soon. Let me ask a question just on these. Would you say gender bias starts from home? From like the family? What do you think?
I don't really think so much family. Sometimes, one can say never, because sometimes it could be from the culture. Remember, there are different cultures in the world. And in some culture, you grow up and part of the cultures that we're used to, okay, you're a woman, you should be only concentrate on what's in the house, what you have to do in the house, and they have to train you to become a good wife and all that, and know your place. And we know that back in so many years ago, women were not even allowed to go to school. So that's part of that culture also. So the bias starts there. Would you call it a bias or would you call it culture? It was the culture that they were known. It was a society. So in their own time, they didn't really think it was bias. They thought it's okay, men and women are supposed to be raised differently because they have different roles to play in life as far as they are concerned back in the day. And I remember, if I use my mom as an example, she was a teacher. My parents were teachers, of course. And they both taught for a total of 100 years. My daddy taught for 51 years, my mom for 49 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my mom went to a teacher's training school that was, their teachers back then were all white people. And so they were taking exams that were London-based exams in those days, you can imagine. So my mom, there was an exam, my mom told me there was an exam that they took, and she was the only one that passed that exam. So you can imagine how the men felt. The men felt that, no, something must have gone wrong here. How could you have been the one to pass the exam? But it was because the way, even the culture was favoring men most, but they were raised differently because they were missionaries. My maternal grandparents were missionaries. So they raised their children differently. And that you can do whether you're a man or woman, you can, be whatever you want to be in life. So we have culture. So sometimes that cultural dimension is very difficult to break in some areas, in some parts of the world. But if you take it also coming to the Western world where, everybody could be anything. I was amazed, Pastor T and Grace. I remember saying to someone of the Western world, I was talking about, when I was growing up, I was made to do these things, not my brother. And then she said, and this was a white lady, and she said, exactly. My parents make me cook and not my brother. And these were white folks. So sometimes that gender bias, it's there subtly without us knowing that this is what we're doing. So, and that's part of the things that we try to correct today. Not to see, as we have girl and boy, we're trying to teach them the same way. This is what you do, irrespective of who you are. Everybody goes to the kitchen, everybody cleans, everybody does this. We don't start to separate all those chores, because eventually they will grow up thinking, I'm a man, I should not be doing this, or I'm a female, I should do this. So yes, sometimes it starts from the home, but that cultural dimension is very, very difficult to break in some areas, and that makes it more difficult in some countries that actually will accept their role as a female, and whatever you say, it's like you're trying to bring chaos into their society, because that's not what the community is used to.
Yeah. Honestly, I really can relate with some of the things you've said. Growing up in Africa also, but I remember that when I first got to the US many, many years ago, the first thing my wonderful sister, who I can see is online somewhere watching us today, Dr. Noe Ayo Bishop, told me, said, listen, you have boys. You have to teach them everything that girls can do too, so that you're not going to get burnt out. And then she told me something, said, times are changing. Mm-hmm. Times are changing so much that the younger generations are not going to be taking what we, the older generation, or my mother, our mother used to just take and say, oh, that's the norm, that's the cultural orientation, the dimension of the culture. She told me, said, they are not going to be taking that lightly. So teach your boys to be able to be able to do a lot of things, because the culture I come from, when it comes to taking care of the home, the house, the woman is like totally there. And I tell you, at times, it's too much. Oh, yes. At times, it gets too much. Yes, our mothers did not complain. Yes, but some of us right now, you look at it and say, oh, I did all that with joy. But the younger ones would not do that. No. Because we live in a world right now, in times where women are taking the strides in a lot of things. And so you go out, the woman goes out, and then the woman is tired, you're tired. If you love one another, you should be able to complement one another by helping one another. So I can relate with that. But I got that from my sister, and I began to teach my children everything they need to know about keeping a home too. It doesn't make them less of a man. No. And I thank God today, because I'm seeing what my sister told me years back, over 20 years ago, that things have really changed. I counsel young ladies and men who are going to get married, my husband does, and we know some of the questions that they ask. And if you're not careful, that could be a big problem in the home, not only in the home, even in the society. Yes. So I think the family should also begin to look at gender bias as something they can find in the home, and they can find ways of, of treating it, of dealing with it, so that the female in the home do not feel like I did everything, and the male in the home feel like it's my right. Because, whatever we pass on to our children is going to go with them for a long time. They are going to do the same thing in their homes, and the days we live in are quite different from those days that when we were younger and our mom were doing everything, we were doing everything. These days, homes are breaking at the slightest of all problems, just because of the fact that the party feels I'm the be-all and I shouldn't lift a finger, and the other one feels like I'm bucking on this weight, under this weight. Mm-hmm. So that's very, very important to look at. So I'm going to ask my wonderful panelists. I'm going to start from Grace. Have you particularly been a target of gender bias in any way, at any time? Can you just share?
I think I want to say, thankfully, just kind of going back to your previous question about if the family can be a place where people start to build an ideas of gender bias. I think people in the society build their ideas on three things mostly: religion, tradition, education.
Yes. And
if you do not question these three things, there's going to always be bias. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I thankfully grew up in a household where my father was a very strong advocate for women doing whatever they wanted to do. And that was because of his exposure to education. But then when it came traditionally, the man would say, you cannot be outside past 7 o'clock. Your brothers can do that, you cannot.
Wow.
You cannot struggle too hard, Grace, because there's a man that has to take care of it.
Yes.
And what?
remember that. It's
And he keep and,
It is so
and
true.
this is my father, who is so liberal in his ideas of what women can do. If I wanted to run for president today, my father would be like, oh, let me get you your flyer. But he doesn't understand that a woman who is supposed to be president will have to stay out by 7 o'clock. And so whenever he came back home, and he'll be like, Grace, why are you coming back by 9? I'll just look at him and say, but I'm responsible for myself. And he'll be like, no, a man will be. And I say, no, that is me. And so I had to continuously break. And I did it for my younger siblings because I have a younger sister. But I also did it for my brothers to not think they were entitled to that space. If Grace was going to go out by 10 o'clock, I had reasons. And I'll come back since the boys' school. And so I had to continuously, and this was my father introducing bias based on the traditional beliefs he had, despite his education. And so because I grew up in a household where I could understand that my father believed I could do everything, whenever I walked outside and people wanted to bring in their own inferiority complex that you were a woman, I always looked at them like, I think this is very confusing because my dad has not, I grew up in this culture where, no, you can't tell me that because I'm a woman, I can't do this, So it was that, but also, I also understood that whenever I was in spaces where people would say things, especially, and sometimes it happens usually in the church, it's not a bad thing. It's like the Bible has construed this setting. And whenever people said that things in church, that was the only place where I just said, I don't see myself fitting into this story, So I think, but society, I've been quite lucky not to have had that physically because I've sort of blocked my mind from seeing it.
Thank you so much. That is very, I remember that we used to be told those things too. You have to do things certain way because the man is going to marry you and then take care of every other thing. But honestly, truth be told, you have to be a person by yourself. The days we live in, no man wants a liability. Yes, men want to take care of their wives, but at the same time, you must be that kind of person who, is able to bring something also to the table, ideas, information. I mean, time does not stop. Time keeps moving. So we have to also move with time. And let me just piggyback a bit about what you said. It is very true. When you talk about gender, you have to talk about it along those 3 lines. And one of the ones that I want to talk, I really want to shed a bit of light on is religion. Thank God that things are changing. As a pastor, a female pastor, I know what that means. I remember that there was a female, when I was a parish pastor, there was a female pastor's session that I attended. And the female leader was telling us that, oh, you guys are lucky that earlier on in the years, I'm sorry, it's okay. That earlier on in the year, thank you so much. Earlier on in the years when, when meetings are called and there are male pastors and female parish pastors, they are treated like they are not there at all. Some people do not, even till now, I know a lot of people are going to call me out on this particular broadcast. I'm going to get a lot of comment. That's okay. Till now, some people still do not believe women should be pastors. And this is part of the bias. When we talk about the Bible, you have to look at the Bible you have to look at the Bible times also with it. Yes, God's rule cannot be changed. But do you know that in Genesis 1, I think it's 15, the Bible says God created in male and female. Male and female, he created them. And the Bible also says God created them in his image, in his likeness. So we are all created in the image and the likeness of man. I know people are going to bring up the scriptures that talk about the woman being the weaker sex and all of that. God is just saying you should give consideration to the women, not that the women should be subjected by any way, in any way. No, that's not what it means. Deborah was a judge over a lot of people. Some people will say that's the role of a man, but no, She was a woman, and she was a judge over Israel for a period of time. And it did not bring a breakdown of government or anything. Things still went on properly. God backed her up. There were 3 daughters in the Bible who went to Moses and said, yes, that's what the culture said, that everything should be given to male children. But our father is dead and doesn't have a male child. And then they were given the portion of their dad. So many times when people quote, women are supposed to be silent in the church, you have to look at the culture. Because a lot of people look at that and use that to just push down women. Women are doing great things, even in the ministry. I've been a missionary before. I'm so glad that Dr. Ashiru said that our grandparents were missionaries. I've been a missionary with my husband, and on the mission field, I was as needed as my husband. If you go to a mission field where men are not allowed to really interact with the women that way, what do you think will happen? The gospel will not spread. There are areas that I had to go and talk when we were on the mission field because my husband might not be allowed to talk to the female. So we have to look at the times. The times that Paul was talking about all this was because the women were boisterous, they were just loud, and they needed some taming down. You can't put the same thing to apply for the days we live in. God is not an author of confusion. God created us, male, female, in his image and in his likeness. And if you are in the image and likeness of God, you can do a lot of things. Amen. But I think that the church is also trying to address the issue of gender bias. Because a lot of churches now allow women to do things, to serve, to preach, to come to the pulpit and share the word of God in Bible studies, in groups. All those things are needed. So honestly, I just want to put this out there. Our church also has a part to play. I mean, churches have a part to play in this. We need to see that God created us in his image and in his likeness. And we have a lot of capacity to be able to do a lot of things. And you know, people are also quick to say, oh, women are just supposed to be the helpmate. It's called the helpmate. That is, we complement the men. Mm-hmm. And if you do not have something, you cannot complement something. No. You have to also be at par. God created us as equals. Yes, we should have respect. Our culture says respect. We have to respect our parents. We have to respect our husbands. But then it does not mean that the men in our lives should now push us down, should now have bias against us, so that we do not join the people out there who are subjecting women.
That you brought up the 3 ladies of Zelophehad.
Yes.
That is usually my very go-to point when I tell people, you know, people say, you don't question God. And I say, these girls looked at the culture and said, well, I mean, this is not something that we can stand. Please, Moses, go and ask God again. Let him revisit this situation. And I think God is constantly talking to us, even in this time. We are just not paying attention. We just always need to, when we have our, you know, when we have things coming up like this, we have to go and say, you know, God, what are you saying about this? And most of the time, God is very fair. He's a very fair judge. He's going to look at a situation and say, these 3 girls really deserve a property, even if their father didn't have a son. And change a rule, and a long-standing rule, to actually know that, to actually meet justice. So, and I think that's what the church has to constantly see. If you're bringing up a rule that is not meeting someone at the place of justice, then you're not doing the right thing.
Thank you so very much for putting something more on top of the icing on top of the cake. Yes, I really like that, because I know that there are a lot of female pastors that are struggling. They are I've had to speak to people and tell them, look, just trust God. If God has called you, go ahead and trust God concerning what he has called you to be. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Ashiru, in what aspect of these 3 major, points have you experienced gender bias?
Thank you so much, Pastor T and Grace, for all your comments, because, they resonate with everything that we're going through today. Women lead differently They just have to understand that. There are some times when that woman's voice needs to be heard. That femininity, that's what is required. Luckily, I really have not, I cannot say that I've been in a place that I experienced that in my workplace, because it's crystal clear what you do and how much you get paid and all of that. So, and I've been so lucky, I thank God for that, that I've been really appreciated everywhere I have worked since I've started working all the way from England to here. And I've always been, and also I've always been working with women in leadership, and all they do is to push you up, to get you to the level where they are. And when they see that you are doing so well, even your male colleagues are also there pushing you up. Some of my mentors are men. I've been so lucky there, because they understand that there are situations where they need women. Some courses they will say to me, Dr. Shri, you want to teach this course because you have the personality, have what is required, because we want that students to, pass this class, and we want you to teach this class. So I have been really very lucky to be placed in a situation where, I've been flying high and I've been highly recommended. But having said that, I know that people do go through a lot. And usually what I say when people tell me about what they're going through in a workplace because of the place is very well male dominated, and I always say, what you do? Use your brain, okay? Like Grace said, in writing. When people see what you can do, that's what you can use to get ahead of that.
True.
When people see what you can do. And then you find yourself becoming the only person. Now, having said that, I get this from some students, just piggybacking on what Grace was saying about calling you sir. People will still see my name, Dr. Victoria Shearer, and they say, the students, they write to me, dear sir. I'm like, how does Victoria sound like sir to you? And to the point that some students will just make a point of just saying, ma'am, miss. I said, I'm not ma'am or miss. Because you see a male professor who does not even have a terminal degree, and you immediately call the person Dr. somebody. Then you see me, you want to call me Mrs.? Why would you want to do that? So I always, draw the line. Not that I was sounding arrogant or something, but you have to draw the line so that they understand. This is what you're being called this because of your level in education, your profession. That's why you're called this. So in terms of bias work-wise, I have, like I said, I've been working places where there's gender equality, so to say, and that has been wonderful. And I just want to take something back to the home one more time. That I became in this profession is because of my husband. So I just want to give him a shout out as well. Because he looked at me and said something, why don't you go get your doctoral degree? I said, why? He said, so that I can say that my wife is a doctor. Isn't that wonderful? And so that really, I just want to give him a shout out and said, yes. He said, and he said you'd like to talk, so why don't you just become a doctor and then, start teaching? And that's where I find myself, so yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. There's systemic bias. There's family bias. There's society bias. And we know that there's workplace bias and even educational bias. When you look at how ladies are being, at times, the younger ones, before now, they'll be told, oh, you can do this. Oh, you can do that. I looked at a study, I'm trying to remember the name now, but I've forgotten. They said that they put different things down for boys and girls to go pick, even as little as they are. The girls, the boys won't touch the dolls, but the girls will probably not touch the balls. And, that's because of what's been told them. That's because of what's been said to them over the years. But they did another one recently, and they found out that people were eager. The girls were eager to pick up the balls. The guys were still not eager. The young boys were still not eager to go after the, after the dolls. But the girls were eager to pick the balls and to just, play the ball with the boys. And it just shows you the level of the level of indoctrination when it comes to things of bias. And that's why I really want to say this. We've said quite a bit, but one of the things I have come to understand, and I've seen this written by a lot of people too, is the fact that at times people do not even know that what they are doing is, showing bias towards the female person. They just feel that this is how we found things. And that's true. A boy that has always been told, you can't show emotions, you can't cry. That's, what you talked about, something about what? It is said that if a guy if a young boy is crying and showing emotion, they'll say, man up. Man up. And if a girl is crying, they feel that's a girly thing to do.
Okay.
That is okay to do it. So one of the things I have discovered, because I looked at things, I did some research, I read up about it, is that bias is actually ingrained in everything we do. How do I put it? Knowing it consciously and unconsciously. Yes. Because a child, from when the child is young, you see some parents say, no, don't go to the kitchen, that's a woman's job. Oh, don't do that, that's a woman's job. And you see girls trying to do something. So, no, you can't do it that way, you're a girl. You can't do it that way, you're a boy. So at times I don't want to blame the people that shows the bias at times. Some know what they're doing, and those people should be, they need to listen to talks like this so that they can change. Sure. But there are some other people that it's so ingrained in them that they don't see what we are talking about. Do you understand? They really don't see. Some people are looking at it and saying, what are they talking about? It has always been like that. Men has always done this. Women has always done this. What are they talking about? So for such people now, because it's easy to take what do you call it? Is it the dog to the water? But what's that? There was the horse to the waters, but it's not easy to force the horse to drink water. So it's easy for us to talk about this and to know that there are people who, from when they were young, this is all they know. And they are not trying to be bad. That's all how they were brought up. They were brought up to know that they are always superior to women. They are brought up to know that what they can do, women cannot do. How do we, is there a way we can really enlighten those people? Is there a way we can, talk to those people and let them know that this is wrong? And how can they change if they can change? What do you think? You think they can change? I think that's the first question. Can people like that change?
Oh, definitely. There's what we call unlearning bias.
Yes.
And
very, very true.
Since everything is taught, people convert to different religions every day. People change their ideas based on the TV station they watch. So it's having the open mind to actually wanting to change. If people are not open to change, there's nothing. The Bible sometimes will say reprobate heart. And yes. I think a reprobate heart is somebody that's not open to change. When you are presented with new ideas and new facts, you have to revisit what you already know. And so I think people can actually change because people are going to have daughters and they're going to have sons. And you don't want to grow sons who are emotionally defunct because you have told them that this is a woman's job, this is a man's job. And you see men growing up without empathy, without knowing that, when you see things going wrong, that you can intervene, that you should allow your woman to, do things, get educated, live her life in a way that is self-fulfilling, because that makes everyone happy. And so I think people can learn when they decide to unlearn bias. It's not something we can convince you. You have to decide to yourself and say, am I seeing things around me that needs to change? And is this fact before me things that would make me change? Someone in the Bible, when Mary Magdalene was at Jesus' feet, came and told him, this woman's supposed to be in the kitchen. And Jesus looked at her, she's doing something important here. And the person didn't argue with Jesus because it's like, God has presented me with a different fact. Yes. And so people have to always be open to listening to different facts when it presents itself. And that's the only way they can change.
So it's very important for us to, first of all, unlearn those things that are wrong that we feel are right. And then we begin to imbibe and learn the new thing. Very, very profound and very, 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 very great. And you might be watching us, or you might watch this later and say, how is that ever going to be possible? This is what I've done all my life. You start by thinking that woman is equal to me. That could help you. That could help you look at it. I know probably your parents have told you some things, the society have also told you some things, but it is important to unlearn those things. Just like Grace said, unlearn bias and begin to learn a better way to approach things. Dr. Ashiro.
Yes, thank you so much. That's piggybacking on what you're saying. It's like have openness to new experience. You have to be open to new experience, because when it comes to our belief system, it's difficult to change that. When you are grounded in one belief system, you're gonna go run with it all the time, and that's why a lot of people are not changing their mindset. And not. Yes, like you said, you watch the TV and it changes what you want to, you're thinking sometimes. But we have to also remember that we have the mind to look at every situation and then try to learn what is being presented to us in the society. And know that, this is not strictly for men, this is for women. Like I was saying, I have a boy and a girl. I mean, they're teens now. And I remember when they started cooking some years ago, and the girl would always be the one to be in the kitchen cooking. They're the same, they're twins. And then after a while, the boy started learning to cook. And then one day he said, "Oh, mommy, my sister will not do this." I said, no, you go learn how to fry the egg already. And now he cooks everything he wants to eat. It's dinner time, they take turns to cook. So they know that. He knows that, no, I'm not going to leave my sister to be cooking for me. I told him to go learn how to do that, and he did. He was excited about it. And for them, it's fun to take time to cook. So you also have to make it like, oh, you're not really supposed to be doing this, but do it anyway. No. Let it be fun, because like you said, when they grow up, they're going to pass it on. I know some grown people that in my colleagues and in their house, oh, yeah, and the male, oh, I'm the one that cleaned the bathroom. I'm the one that cleaned the toilet. I'm the one that do this on Saturdays. So they take turns even in the house to do that. Like I said, we women, we lead differently, but we have to really change our mindset about how we raise the kids in the house also. We really have to do that. Because what they learn is what they take outside, and that's what they use outside.
That's true.
So
That's really true.
Especially Igbo women.
Especially for those of us who are watching who do not know who Igbo women are. They are women from the eastern part of Nigeria in West Africa.
Yeah.
So why did you say especially Igbo women?
I'm going to talk about the culture that I know,
Okay.
Igbo women have a very strong, close relationships with their son. And because of that, they allow them pass and do things that they escape and say, oh yeah, because he's a man. Or, just allow him be. A woman will take care of him. And then the men grow up and they don't see how, how do I put this? The men grow up in such an authoritarian way that even when they get married, they don't see anything wrong in what their wife is pointing, because to them, all their lives, they've been told that they are the golden egg, or the ones that will lay the golden goose, and then there's someone who will pamper them. No, Igbo women have to change.
Wow. So are you trying to say that in this age and time, because we are talking about gender bias through the years, you're not talking about when I was young? You're talking about, no, I'm really trying to get this, bear with me. You definitely are not talking about when somebody like me just married, because I've been married now for about 30 years, going to 30 years soon. So you're not talking about, how long have you been married?
Close to that, too.
Okay. So you're not talking about, are you talking about our time? Or you're talking about Igbo women in your time? No, seriously, this is why we're trying to do the different age, different, so that I mean, please shed light on
Yeah.
that because they need to hear this.
I'm actually speaking about Ivu's generation. I think the women, our own women, might also be learning what their mothers did. The other day on Twitter, I saw someone say that she's been in Lagos for 15 years, and the last time her brother came to the house to stay with her, he complained to his mom that the food was not well, and the next day she sent 5 plates of soup to the house. The Igbo woman told her daughter that, please, my son cannot be suffering. So the daughter can suffer for 15 years in Lagos, but the one night the son felt uncomfortable with the soup, she had 5 plates sent in a bus to the house. It's just like, imagine that man marrying a woman, the expectations are already that this woman
Yes.
should, immediately he complains about a bad soup, have 5 options ready for him. And it's just, and I think our own generation of women may want to say, because my mother spoiled my son, our brother, I want to spoil my own. So I'm trying to break the bias now, unlearn. What your mother did was not right.
Well, I think you really have to unlearn, honestly, because
Yes.
women of grace age and below,
Very slim
they are not
patience.
going to do the same thing we do
Very slim
or we
patience.
did. And you said they have very slim
patience.
very slim patience. They have very slim patience, you know. And honestly and candidly, I do, with all due respect to what I want to talk about. We all know about, a lot of people know about one of the kings in Nigeria, West Africa, the Oni of Ife. I'm not trying to make this light, but you know, I watched a program from Nigeria, and the ladies were talking about what happened. If it had been in those days, a king's wife would not leave no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's a shock to everybody that she left. That's part of that, I believe. I do not know what happened, and I do not want
And that's
to
the third
speculate.
in 10 years.
That's the what?
The third woman in 10 years.
Oh, well, that doesn't really matter. Right here. That's not what I'm trying to say, honestly. But what I'm trying to say is that things have so much changed
Yes.
in this age and time that the same kind of bias that men have towards women then cannot just be swept under the carpet. The young women are going to reject it. They are going to revolt against it. They are going to pack their things and go. And that's why some companies will they will lose their top-notch, hard-working executives if they are not careful.
Right.
Because in those days, the women they will just be quiet and take a lot of things. But the days we live in, they are not going to take it because they have options. Now women have options. So please, I just want to say, like she said, we said it jokingly, or, you know, it really spoke a lot to me for a queen to just pack her things and just go. Especially in Africa, in Nigeria, it doesn't really happen like that. But when that happened, it spoke volume to me that, you know, what is this? It's because there are some things that women are not taking again. And we have to be aware of that. I know our time is really, this is really a very, very wonderfully good conversation, but I know our time is far gone. So I just want to ask 1 or 2 more questions so that we can round up. And if anybody has any questions, if we didn't see, please, our technicals, you can make us aware of them, both on Facebook and on YouTube. And I want to apologize to those that are waiting to watch this on Instagram. It didn't happen, but we would make sure we post it to Instagram when this is over. What I want to ask is that, do you think, to an extent, do you think women contribute to part of the bias? Do you think that's possible? Because, okay, some people are probably looking at us now and saying, what are they talking about? It has always been like this with women. What do you want to change? You know, some people are looking at us and saying, what does it matter? I mean, it doesn't take anything out of me. I think it does. So do you think that women have, over the time, contributed to some of this bias? Or do you think they are actually, because I know also that there are some women who are speaking up and doing things to change the atmosphere, to change the situation. So what do you think? What do you? I know you want to throw it to her. Yes.
I think, I mean, I pointed to that in my last statement, but also it's women still looking at their fellow women as properties of their husbands. You know, there are people who marry into a household where their men beat them, and then you see a fellow woman say, you know, just talk to him, or, you know, stay, or don't question, or, you know, and just giving so many excuses. Most of the time, the men don't even talk. They're supposed to actually caution their men, but they don't talk. But the women will insist and say things that are not conforming, but having a bias, like coming from a place of bias, instead of trying to say, this woman may not be wrong. This is something we have to address with the man. It's the woman that they will focus. If she's the one beaten, if she's the one sent out of her house, if she's the one going through any crisis, the woman, the woman, the woman, the woman, the woman. And there's no place where they say, well, what has this man done? You know, and so women contribute to bias that way by always seeing women as the victims or the ones perpetrating every wrong. And not necessarily thinking, you know, this is two human beings. What if the man may have done something too? And I think changing that would be having people actually sit both parties down and talk to them as two people who are part of the problem instead of looking at it from one side.
What about you? Thank you so much for that insight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, when you look at it, sometimes female don't actually help female. You are trying to climb the ladder. You're trying to do your best in education, in your profession, and then sometimes you will see it's the men that are actually trying to help you, but not the female. I don't know if are you now thinking that you're better than the rest of us? You know, you want to do this, want to become this, I want to become that. So you have to be very careful who you are share your dreams with, because some will be dream killers. And don't think that you should really be there. So what does that mean? You hear somebody saying to you, mean what you have is not enough for you? You know, you want to become what again now? You know, that's already enough. Look at you won't have time for your children. They start bringing some guilt trip on you. Like, okay, that means that you're going to be so busy. And when you're so busy, you won't be able to take care of the kids. And then the children are growing up. They need you. They need the father too. They just don't need the mom. The father has to have, you know, be there and show the father figure. And then, of course, the mom figures. Everybody has to be there, you know, when there are two people. So here is the thing. Sometimes women add to it because we should really be promoting each other. We should be helping each other. It's not just going to women's group thing. Sometimes women's group thing, they go there to bash men. That's not what I'm talking about. You go to such associations that will promote women. That's why I was giving examples of some of the supervisors I've had so far in my career, and they've always been to promote women. One current one is actually like, if you're really doing very well, she'll promote you, she'll make sure she'll bring you up. That's the kind of way we want to surround ourselves. And we ourselves should also be doing that when we see the young ladies around us and, yeah, you could do this, you could be this, you know, are you thinking of this? Trying to also help the younger ones. So please, women all over the place, all over the world, I should say, always try to help the younger ones that are coming up, because there's this thing about low self-esteem.
That's true.
And boys don't have that, you know. It's only the young girls. You're looking at a young girl that is so beautiful, and they don't think much about themselves because they just like that self-esteem. You know, we call it self-efficacy. They don't believe they could do anything. They don't believe they have what it takes to get it done. So please, it's our, all of us, I'm glad that, Grace, you have that blog that you are helping young ones to come up in their career and doing so many things. You know, God bless you for that. And Pastor Toyo, of course, has always been there, you know, for the young girls, always saying, what can we do about them? Now, it's not just their career, but also how they feel about themselves. I'm always preaching this, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. Don't let nobody talk down on you. And it's not just physically, but also your brain, you have it. If somebody else can do it, you can do it too. You know, like we say, do they have two heads? So yes, so let's all also be mentors for these young ladies that are coming up. Let's just also help them, please.
Yeah, and I think I just want you brought up something that I think of when it comes to self-esteem, and it's young people or young girls who grow up in a culture where men's affirmation is the only way they feel self-esteem. And it does not just start from the men, it starts from the home, where the mom says, well, you're not married. No man
Back to
likes
the
you.
home, huh?
No man
Back to
will
the
like
home.
you
That's
because
nice.
you are not doing this. No man will like you because you cannot cook. No man will
Exactly.
like you because you are not doing this. No man will like you. And then this girl goes out and no man is looking at her. And then she starts thinking, well, maybe I'm actually not beautiful enough. I'm not woman enough. And truly, I had to just tell myself, I'm Grace. Nobody can make me feel like if you start to bring up, oh, you're not married, I'll just be like, that time will come. But for now, I can't hinge my self-esteem and my time on any of those things. They are just an addition. They are things that we can aspire to, as men aspire to. A man marrying me is marrying a gold mine. You should aspire to.
Yes.
It's the same way.
Yes,
Yes,
we should
that
be
is that is so
inspiring.
true.
I think you wanted to say something more on
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
What I wanted to
Right.
say is that that's part of the thing I use also to talk to young girls. I say, stand in front of the mirror. What do you see? You see the prettiest, the smartest, the finest, the tallest, the whatever you want to talk. That best thing that you have in your mind. That's what you see in the mirror. So look in the mirror every day. Affirm that yourself. You really need that affirmation because, like Grace, like you said, a lot of things have been said to some people. You're looking at somebody. I remember when I was younger and I was running as a young child. An old lady, just said to me, I ran and said, oh, and then what did she do? She put a cross on the floor, on the ground, like a curse.
You shouldn't run.
Like a curse, cursing me. And I'm like, no way. And
Why?
I said to my mom, she actually said, you are zero.
Why did she say that? Because you ran?
Because I was running, I jumped, I almost hit her. You are zero.
Was that
And
supposed to be a boys thing? A male's thing only?
I don't know. And I said, okay, but that is the thing about self-esteem. Can you imagine as a young child, I never forgot that? I must have been like 7 years old, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. But I keep saying, I wish you could see me today,
Oh, yeah?
that I'm not zero. So with that in my mind, instead of that bringing me down, I'm only going higher and higher
Yeah.
to the great glory of God.
Yes.
Okay, so honestly, I see this. This has so many parts to it, and I want to request you, ladies, really, really request you. Please, I'm serious about this. Is there any other time we can come and talk about, self-confidence and appreciation of oneself? Because this thing you're talking about has been made worse now by social media.
Oh, 100%.
All the young ladies wants to be what do you call it, validated by social media. Is that what it is? By men, by
By the
guys
male
out there,
gaze.
by the male, you don't need anybody to validate you. Honestly, you are an original. You are a creation of God. You have to know that there's so much in you. And like Dr. Asheru says it, that's one thing that I do. And I can say you guys do it too. Listen, yes, there's so much gender bias, but you can stand out and be different. There are so many ladies doing great things in the days we live in. Even in the old times, it was some ladies that started this breaking of the bias. The sovereign women of America. There are so many of them that you can think about. Somebody started it. You could be the difference that is needed in the world. Don't look at yourself and until, like you said, a mother was talking to a daughter and I was saying, it's okay, don't make her feel, but I said, no, I need to talk to her, that because I had to tell her, are you not just going to only this place? That she had to do so much makeup on her face and everything that she was like, but you're just going to see your friend. I know the person you're going, and she felt, I can't go out like that. It's getting to that point. But hey, what we're talking about today is gender bias through the years. My time, it was worse. Right now, things are getting better because there's more awareness. You need to join the people who are looking at the brighter side, that a woman doesn't need a validation from a man, from a boy. You know, I'm especially those young ladies who are not married right now, who feel until they do some certain things, they would not be liked. No. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have to trust God. You have to believe. Like Grace said, she said, when the time comes, it's going to happen. And I know that because I'm going to be at Grace's wedding soon. Anytime it is. No rush, you know. But honestly and candidly, when we allow men to see us as female in certain ways, that's the way they are going to treat you. Not all men. I remember going for an occasion one time, and I entered into that place, and the music they were playing in that place was horrible, horrible, horrible. They were playing that music, and it was really downgrading to women. And I called some people. I called people dancing. I said, listen, can you guys listen to the lyrics of this song? Why are you dancing to such a music? You should be the one to stand up and say, turn off that music. Honestly. And a lot of them were like, oh, that's true. But anyway, I couldn't stay there. I mean, I couldn't stay there. I would lie. So I was on my way out, but I made a point there so that people would know exactly what to do. So before we go today, what last word do you have for women who are experiencing gender bias in places of work and in society every day? Dr. Ashiru.
Thank you so much, Pastor T. And it's been a really refreshing talk today. I've enjoyed, and what you said about coming back, yes, I think we should continue with this conversation even further and deeper also, because I know that a lot of young ladies, even the older generation, also we are all learning today. You know, so what you said about gender bias getting better, we have always heard about breaking the glass ceiling.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know when women are ever gonna shatter that glass ceiling. There's just so much here, and then there's another thing they call the glass cliff. You break the glass ceiling, you meet the glass cliff, which means, okay, you want to become a leader. You know, you want to be a woman in leadership. We give you a shitty job. What does that mean? You're gonna be cleaning up the mess. They give women sometimes the most difficult job, so they will fail at it. That's the glass cliff.
So it's still there.
It's still there. You have become you're now in management, but the kind of work that you'll be doing, you will not even sleep because the man, because they want you to fail so they can say, okay, now we've tried a woman, so now see why we should put a man in there.
Failed.
So it's there because they always believe that women are there to clean up the mess. And so that job that is very difficult, you do it, But I just like, the good thing is that it's getting better. There's more awareness. And that's why, like, if you permit me, my niece just shattered all of that and became the first African American female to be to join the Department of Neurosurgery. First African American female.
Great.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. That tells you.
All these years?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Something.
All these years in that particular clinic. She is the first female, African-American female in that clinic in all these years. And the clinic is number 2 in the country. Things are happening. Look at our Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The new Director General for WTO. Never, ever happened. And the 7th and the first African.
It's mind-blowing.
Yes, to
And
be
nice,
there.
honestly.
And Dr. Emenike is there, our ambassador here in Nigeria, ambassador, Dr. Sanders, American ambassador to Nigeria. So a lot of female are coming up and doing something. Even the other day, I joined the talk that Dr. Emenike and Dr. Sanders led at the Nigerian embassy.
Yes, you told me about it.
Yes, I told you. It was widely attended, but it's good to hear. I know that there's so many. Oh, this particular one I must not forget. What about in soccer? FIFA, the US team. The female has always talked about how they were not being paid well.
Yes.
February of this year.
I saw that in the news, yes.
February
You're right.
of this year, they won the lawsuit. And that's really helped them because they get paid. I just want to be sure of what I'm saying here. 24 million settlement.
Yes.
But you know that before then, men were paid so much money, 400 million in prize money
Isn't
for
that
the men,
something?
and the female team have been winning more than the men. How can you compare paying 400 million in prize money for the 32 teams at the 2018 Men World Cup, and then 38 million to the champion, France? By comparison, FIFA awarded only 30 million for the 24 teams of the 2019 Women's World Cup, including 4 million to the US after winning. How you compare that? So it's been on the case. I'm so glad February 2022,
Yes.
they won the lawsuit.
But you know, some of them had even retired
Yes.
before this lawsuit was
I know,
won. So
but-
that means all the time they were playing this game, they were just being thrown peanuts. So I'm sorry I need to throw this in before you go
Yes,
on.
of course.
For everyone listening to us, especially for those of us who are Christians, are going to spiritualize this thing and say, oh, it's always been there, women should be subject to men. Listen, the Bible did not say that women should be treated this way. The Bible says a laborer is worthy of his wages. That's what the Bible says.
Yes.
So if they are doing the same thing and, bringing home the cups just like the men are doing and even much more,
Better.
that pay is a real show of inequality. And thank you so much, because I remember that I saw that. I didn't know I forgot when I was preparing. I saw that and I was like, wow, the difference is just mind-blowing.
It is.
And the men playing soccer too, they know this, but it's just the norm. So they are like used to it, and nobody's speaking for the women. And the women have been fighting this for a
They've been
while.
fighting, and the argument there was that more people watch the men play instead of the women. So the men supposedly bring more crowds, so they make more money. It still doesn't matter. The female got into it, and guess what? And they've been bringing back the cups, so pay them the money, which they
Yeah.
finally did.
Yeah, honestly,
Just February 2022.
the bias against women is really large, and it's going to happen sometime to shatter the glass and the curve, but I know it's going to take some time, but you and I can make a difference.
Yes.
And I believe that every sector has a part to play. In business, you encounter the same thing. In industries and everywhere you go to, you encounter the same thing. So this is not just for individuals. The governments have to look into this. They have to continue to look into this. The society, the community has to look into the schools. Everywhere, people have to look into this, so that at least if there's a curve, we can begin to straighten that curve bit by bit. Women shouldn't be told you are promoted, and yet they are given jobs that are, they are set up to fail anyway, so that it can be said that they are going to fail. And I know that it's not all area of the sector of the economy, of the government, of everything that does that. We say kudos to those who are beginning to break the bias. But for those who are still saying it's going to be like that, we want you to think about it again and look at the fact that women are bringing the same thing, if not much more, to the table just like the men. Grace, your parting word for what women can do. They are going through this.
I think you people have summarized most of it, and there's something you said about documentation. Once you document your story, there's no way someone is going to change it. Document it and post it out there, so when people want to say, you can always refer and say, this is my story. It was already online. It's already written. It's already published, and it's very hard for things like that to change. So as much as possible, women should document their journey, their growth, so that no one can dispute it. And when women find themselves in positions where they can open doors for other people, they have to do so, either through mentorship, through recommendations, because men would always do that. A man can walk into his office and say, I know a friend. The guy may not just even be qualified, but he knows a friend, and that friend will get that job. Women have to start knowing friends. We have to start knowing people we can always walk into rooms and say, I know someone, a woman who is capable of doing this. So that's my advice.
And definitely, thank you so much, Grace. And definitely you have those friends. I have those friends.
Yeah.
We just make sure that we promote those friends too. And on that note, I had a talk with a lady called Maureen O in Nigeria. Honestly, any woman that is in business, in commerce, that is trying to grow and to break barriers and barriers, should please take a leaf from Pastor Maureen Obawaya, Maureen O. She makes bags from the scratch in Nigeria. She didn't have it that easy when she started, but she's everywhere, all over the face of the earth. And I say kudos to people like her. And honestly, like she said, pull up other women. Don't discount your friends. Women, don't let's be jealous when we see other women attaining great heights. Let's be like the men. Men most times celebrate themselves and talk about what they are doing. But most times women, we do not. We need to talk more about what we as women are doing and to celebrate loud those women who are achieving great things. And today I want to say a great kudos also to Dr. Remi Duyile, who is running for a seat in our constituency.
Yes.
And I want to say, if you're a woman in Maryland, especially in Maryland, and around our area, in Maryland, talk about her. Let people hear about Dr. Remi. And also, if you're around Bowie area, please vote for her. Because, number one, she's a woman, and I've seen her she's done great things. Yes. And I know she's also a child of God like myself. And she's my personal person. She's my sister, not blood sister, but she's somebody I admire so much. So there are so many women out there that we can reference. Let us join the group of people breaking the bias. As a mother at home, begin to teach your male and female children that there's nothing they cannot do. These days, you can't tell a girl child that you can't be a doctor again. There's so many female doctors in high position in the medical field. And they can be engineers too. They can go to, there's nothing they cannot do. So begin to teach them, and concerning their homes in future, let them know that the man is not the be-all. The woman also has something to say, something to bring to the home. Well, this is how far we're going to take, how much we're going to take today, because our time is far gone. And I know that our dear Grace is coming back, and our dear Dr. Ashiru is coming back, because we are going to begin to talk about, you know, what the bias against gender, what it can actually cause. Do you know domestic violence in most places, most times when it's the man that attacks the woman, is because of gender bias? It's because the woman has been told, you can do whatever you can do, you want to do and get away with it, but the woman cannot. After all, if you look at that story in the Bible, when that woman was chased to the feet of Jesus, where was the man? She was told that she was caught in adultery and she was about to be stoned. But the man was nowhere to be found just because he's a man. Domestic violence is real. A lot of people are losing their lives. I know it's equal opportunity. Women at times also abuse men. But the majority of it is the other way around. And when that happens, it's because the gender bias has not been addressed somewhere within the heart of such a man. And so it translates even to his relationship with his wife. But we are having this talk, even though we are already in April, we're having this talk just to bring more enlightenment, both to the women who will sit and accept it as their lot, and to the men who probably did not know that it's wrong, so that they can change, and to the men who feel it's their right, to the government, to the society, to the community, so that we know that women are still being subjected to bias, and we need to break the bias. So once again, I want to say thank you to Grace. Thank you so much. You look so beautiful, by the way. She's always looking beautiful, right?
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to Dr. Ashiru.
Thank you so much, Pastor
Our
T.
dear Dr. Ashiru, Dr. Victoria, full of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
and
much.
And to all our viewers, we want to say a big thank you. Thank you for staying tuned. Please make sure you share this broadcast. It will still be on my channel and my Facebook page. Please share it. Please put your comments down there. We'll definitely get back to you. But until the next time we bring up another broadcast, I want to say have a wonderful day. From me, from Grace, and from Dr. Ashiru. Have a good time. Bye-bye.